With the number one pick in the draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select our favorite QB1, Shedeur Sanders, was sitting courtside at the New York Knicks game in Madison Square Garden, and he received a warm welcome ovation from the New York fan base. Afterwards, he struck a pose on the New York subway. Could Shedeur Sanders become a New York Giant? Is something changing? Well, for weeks, as the Raiders were the number 4 pick or the number 5 pick in the draft, the media was comfortable with Shedeur Sanders becoming a Raider. But now that it was announced earlier this week that the Raiders have the number 1 pick in the draft, suddenly the number 1 pick in the draft is going to Cam Ward. What's going on? So was Shedeur in New York for a PR event, or is the fact that Shedeur seemed to have a preference in going to Vegas and his dad was seen on video basically suggesting to Antonio Pierce that he's draft Shedeur and Shiloh? It seems like things are changing. One big box sports media outlet on Monday, once the announcement was made that the Raiders officially are in the number 1 overall position to draft the first pick of the draft, he was like, oh, that's going to be Cam Ward. I'm like, I don't think the Raiders did all the maneuvering to get the number 1 pick to draft Cam Ward. I never got that impression. Adding Tom Brady as part owner and a relationship between Tom Brady and Shedeur Sanders. And then I heard an analyst say, the New York Giants are clearing house in preparation for drafting Shedeur Sanders. And I'm like, what? Now, there are 32 teams or 32 picks in the first draft. And as of right now, Vegas has the first pick. New York has the second, the Patriots have the third, and Jacksonville have the fourth. So the order should be Shedeur Sanders, number 1, Cam Ward, number 2, and the mock draft indicate that Travis is number 3 or number 4 now. And I'm like, what is changing besides the draft order? Because as long as Vegas had a lower pick, people were cool with Shedeur going a lower pick. But now that Vegas is in the number 1 spot, people are not cool with Shedeur going number 1. Why? Because he's not a Heisman finalist, and it's going to shine a light on the Heisman race, because how is the number 1 pick in the draft not a Heisman finalist? Now, Cam Ward is a Heisman finalist, but he's supposed to be the number 2 pick. And if you don't know the history of the Heisman, it was some type of status award. In the past, if you won the Heisman, it increased your stock to be drafted. But let's be realistic here. When we look at the first 5 Heisman candidates, that is Travis Hunter, Ashton Jeanty, Cam Ward, Shedeur Sanders, and Dillon Gabriel. None of them, and I don't know about Dillon. I can't speak for him, and no disrespect intended at all. I don't know who he is, other than he plays for Oregon. The top 4, Travis, Ashton, Cam, and Shedeur, they don't need the Heisman to be drafted at all. And it's starting to feel like people just want to keep Shedeur out that number 1 spot. Even if Vegas intends to draft Shedeur, they just want it to be Cam, not Shedeur. I've seen all kind of comparisons of Cam Ward to Shedeur Sanders, and analysts and fans maintain Shedeur Sanders is still QB1. What that does is it makes people side-eye the Heisman, and it starts to ask the question, is the Heisman award still relevant? Maybe at some point back in the day, it was a nod to, you should draft this person. He's the best. But that might not be the case anymore, because the Heisman is starting to give the impression that it's about preference rather than performance. So, Shedeur being in Vegas shows he's open-minded. Shedeur being in New York shows he's open-minded. And it's possible some people don't want Shedeur's wishes to be granted, and they don't want Coach Prime's wishes to be granted, because he vocally expressed what they are. But at the end of the day, we know it's not up to them. So Shedeur is the only player in this draft that I've heard anybody say such and such team is clearing house to draft Shedeur Sanders. I have not heard the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are clearing house to draft Dylan Gabriel. I have not heard the New England Patriots are clearing house to draft Cam Ward. I have not heard any team that needs a quarterback is clearing house to get a quarterback that's not Shedeur Sanders. I haven't even heard Vegas say we're clearing house to get Shedeur Sanders. It's just more implied and inferred. So something's going on behind the scenes. And to me, it seems that it's possible people just want to keep Shedeur out the number one spot, just like they kept him out of the Heisman finalist. You tell me, what are your thoughts? And more importantly, with the number one pick in the 2025 draft, the Las Vegas Raiders select who? Drop the comments and let me know who you think the Raiders will select with their number one pick.